big news out of Hebron, out of the Jewish community of Hebron and the bigger Arab city of Hebron. And this news came in the form of a big Wall Street Journal article. Now, the Wall Street Journal article was summarized well here by my friend Eitan Fischberger, who's actually my neighbor. And he writes, a group of powerful Hebron clan leaders has launched a bold initiative to break away from the Palestinian Authority and establish an autonomous emirate of Hebron that would recognize Israel, join the Abraham Accords, and prioritize local governance over failed national aspirations. The Al-Jabri clan is the leader of this initiative. They're proposing to secede from the PA, form a self-governing emirate in Hebron, recognize Israel as a Jewish state, and pursue full normalization via the Abraham Accords. A letter was sent to Israeli Economics Minister Nir Barkat, a Netanyahu ally who has met with these sheikhs and Mukhtar's leaders over a dozen times and is now presenting the plan to the prime minister. These people are rejecting the PA, they're rejecting Hamas, and they're saying that the PA has caused economic disaster and destruction, and it's oppressive and illegitimate. They're asking for local rule within the state of Israel, and they're asking for freedom of movement so that they could go back to work, That's what they're asking to do. Nobody knows more about this story than Dr. Noam Arnon. Dr. Noam Arnon he's the legendary spokesman for the Jewish community of Hebron. And before that was spokesman for Gush Emunim, the nationalist movement to hold on to the land of Israel, starting already in the late 70s, and has also written his PhD paper about the ancient history of the Tomb of the Patriarchs and Matriarchs, and has been one of the leaders of the Jewish community of Hebron since its renewal right after the Six-Day War. Dr. Noam Arnon has been closely aligned with this issue of trying to normalize life for Arabs in Hebron and get them out of the clutches of the Palestinian Authority. Dr. Noam Arnon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Shalom, shalom, Yishai, and shalom to everybody here.
Okay. First question, is this thing real? Is this a real initiative? Is it just a stunt, a political stunt? Is it just something that we read about in the papers, but it's never going to happen? Or is this serious? And are the people behind it serious? Are they putting their life in their hands? Or is this just some kind of publicity stunt?
Well, actually, what we have heard today is the result. And the last chapter, not the last, the chapter that we write right now of a very long process that we are actually involved in about 20 years, dealing with the leaders of the Arab community of the Hebron Mount and the city of Hebron, the town of Hebron. And we are involved in negotiations and talkings and dialogue with Arab leaders, with famous Sheikh Jabri, the late Sheikh Jabri, and his seeds and his family, and the activists in his clan, the Jabri clan here in Hebron, that actually they say to us, you are our neighbors, you will be our neighbors forever. We want to live with you peacefully and friendly, and we want to return to the days when Jews and Arabs could live together in this neighborhood, in this town, many years ago. And most important thing is that they see the Palestinian Authority as foreign, corrupted regime that was actually brought from outside and actually was forcefully that they put it on their heads above their original leadership, and they reject this authority, and they try to find a way to get rid of this authority and to return to good relationship with the state of Israel, with the Israeli citizens here in this area, with the Jews the Jewish communities in this area. And what is published today is the result of a very long process.
Okay, so it's a long process, and yet it sounds kind of like fantastical, because for so many people, Noam, so many people, they think that there's two narratives: the narrative of Israel trying to conquer, occupy the land, and the plight of the Palestinians being taken over, and they're trying to reject Israel. And that's it. There's only two sides. There's the Jewish side and there's the Palestinian side, and that's it. And what you're telling us, which is surprising for so many people, is that there are Arabs who what they want, who what they identify is the problem is not Israel, but rather the PA and Hamas. They're saying, wait, this paradigm is not correct. It's not us versus Israel. It's us trying to get together with Israel against this thing called the PA. Is that not a fantastical thing? Is that like something that the world has barely heard, and yet it's splashed all over today, the Wall Street Journal papers? How is it that people have never heard of this? How come they've never heard of the paradigm that the enemy of the Arabs, so-called Palestinian people, is actually the PA?
Well, let's remember that Palestinian state or Palestinian entity or Palestinian identity never existed, because never in history, well, this region, the Middle East, was controlled by Arab regimes, by Muslim regimes, about 13 centuries from the 7th century. Never in history a Palestinian state or Palestinian kingdom or Palestinian monarchy or Palestinian whatever was never existed and never implemented by any Arab or Muslim regime. When Jordan controlled this area, they actually did not recognize any Palestinian statehood or leadership in this area. The only idea of Palestinian, what sort of Palestinian entity or nationality, was used by the Mufti, the Nazi Mufti Amin al-Husseini in the 20s as a sort of a tool that he used in order to attack the Zionist movement and the Jews in this country. And the local population mostly rejected this idea. And the Mufti al-Husseini, the Nazi Mufti al-Husseini, he forced this idea on the people here, on many of them. And at last, actually, he was so brutal and so criminal that actually he did it. But it was always a sort of not sort of original responsibility of the people here. And later on, the PLO that was established in 1964 as a tool against the terrorist organization against the state of Israel in 64, before the 6th War, as a sort of organization that was used by Arab countries, by Egypt, and by other Arab countries against the state of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the people here, many of the Arabs here, had actually waited for Israel to return. And when we returned, many of their leaders, they say to us, you are the original landowner of this land. We will be waiting for you for many years. Now what you have to do is to apply Jewish sovereignty on this area. But the state of Israel, unfortunately, did not do it. And actually, we betrayed the land, and we betrayed the people that lived in this country. And actually, when the Oslo Accord happened, Israel betrayed the people here and left the area. It was no choice for the people here but to be under the PLO, the Fatah, or to go to the other direction of Hamas. Actually, the state of Israel, we gave them these terrible two choices, not any other choice. That's the problem. and it is terrible. Now, maybe, after so many years, maybe there is a solution that under Israeli umbrella, and it must be under Israeli umbrella, the sort of local emirate led by original leadership of the clans here, and they will lead it to a way of peace and coexistence with the people, with the settlers. And I am proud settler, by the way. And the people here, the residents here, and the state of Israel, as a part of the Israeli homeland, of the Jewish homeland. And that's now for the state of Israel, for the government of Israel, to actually to give an answer and to say, yes, we recognize you. You are our friends. You are our allies, and we want a common future of us together here again under Israeli umbrella. But local leadership, local original leadership.
I want you to explain this. I want you to explain this. Dr. Noam, I want you to explain this a little bit more. You're saying the word original leadership. What do you mean by original leadership? Why are you giving the clans this kind of terminology? What do you mean by that?
Well, you see, in Hebron, there are no places like in Tulkarem or Shechem or other places that contain refugees camps. Here in Hebron, the local Arab population is led by their leadership, by the Hamula, the Sheikhs, for hundreds of years. And they mostly lead the people to a way that they can bring only good, only peaceful future for the people. And they see what happened in Gaza, and they are frightened and terrified that their city, their town, will look like Gaza. And they do their best to lead their people to a direction that would lead them to a better future, economic and personal and human rights and health and education and every good future that they can try to apply that. And this is why they are terrified. And more than that, they are terrified that if, God forbid, some anti-Semite governments will recognize Palestinian state and they will be in a cage of a Palestinian statehood that they hate and they don't want it. Now this is why they actually raise their voice now today and publish this letter to ask our government, please save us from the Oslo terrible terrorist direction. Save us from this regime, corrupted and terrorist regime that was brought here in the Oslo Accord, the PLO.
Dr. Noam, I want to tell just a story, and you probably have a story yourself. There's one story that you have which is fabulous. I'll remind you which one, but I'll tell you a story that happened to me a few months ago. My wife and I were protesting during the October 7th war. We were protesting the influx of Arab so-called Palestinian workers into our town here in Judea, because we said these guys are still pro-Hamas. We know they're pro-Hamas because that's what questionnaires in their region showed. Polls showed that they were for Hamas. And one day I was standing in front together with a big crowd in front of the gate that leads into our town from the nearby Arab town. And there were a lot of Arab workers ready to come in. And I was protesting. I was saying, no, we're at war. We can't let these people in. They're on the other side. And then not only that, they're actually dangerous. So as this protest is happening, I go to the back where there's this whole like fence area where potential Arab workers were waiting to come in. And I see them smoking cigarettes, and we're across a kind of a fence. And I said to an Arab there, I could see, he looked at me, I looked at him, and I said to him, and this is the funny stuff of the Middle East, because you can still have conversations all the time. And I said to him, you know, I've got no problem with you coming into work today. And I'm with her protesting against them coming to work. I said, I got no problem with you coming to work today. What I need you to do is I need your town to put up the flag of Israel, and I need you to have your mukhtar, the head of your clan, proclaim loudly that you're against Hamas. You find what October 7th, what happened was disgusting and disgraceful and anti-Arab, anti-Islam, and you want no part of it. You want to work with it in Israel and with Israel. I said to him, if you do that, then I have no problem for you to come into my town and work. I got no problem for you to work in dignity. But I need you to swear off alliance with Hamas and with jihadism, and I need you to have a flag of Israel because that's where you live. So he says to me, you don't think I would like to do that? He goes, you think that the Mukhtar of our town wouldn't like to do that? He said he would love to do that. But you guys put on the PA. You brought here the Palestinian Authority. They bully us. They butcher us. They torture us. If my Mukhtar would say anything like that, he would be taken down to prison and be tortured. He said, you get rid of this thing that you put on us, and we'll be happy to be residents of Israel. We'll be happy to fly the flag, and we'll be happy to swear off the jihadism. But you got to do your part. You brought this thing upon us. So
exactly.
That's the story. How
exactly.
do you understand?
Your description is right, and that the same situation is here in Hebron. And above that, I would like to mention the leadership of the Jabri Clan and others that are brave enough to declare what they say, what they declared today. And this is the point that you can say, okay, they actually crossed the line, and when they identify publicly with the state of Israel, with their Jewish neighbors, this is why they deserve the recognition from our side, when they are brave enough to declare it. And that's maybe the sign for of the change of the situation here. And it's for us actually to return with our hands open and to say, we recognize your bravery and your loyalty, and we welcome you on this way. That's okay. Now it's our mission.
Okay, so now let's get to Tachlis, brass tacks, bottom line. It all sounds nice and good. The Arabs are saying, some Arabs in Hebron, important Mukhtars, important clan heads are saying, we're done with the PA. We identify the PA as being jihadist and as being corrupt, embezzling our money, and not bringing us neither peace with Israel, neither a good life, and neither a good Islam, nothing. They're doing, they're just a bunch of corrupt thugs. They have the face of either the PA face or the Hamas face. None of those are good for a future. Hamas will bring us what happened to Gaza. PA will only bring us embezzlement and making a few people rich. Okay, very brave, very amazing. But you and I, B'retzinut, really, seriously, we know where the problem lies. The problem lies is that many in the Israeli establishment are not going to jump to this. We know this. We know that there are, how should I say, corrupt elements that are either making money off their deals with the PA or just used to it. In many cases, just used to it. This is the system that they know. They know it for 30 years. They understand it. They don't want to give up their positions of power. They know how to run it. They don't want to do a whole new thing now, a whole new arrangement. And so the real question to me is, can we get the Israelis behind it? Can we get the Israelis to stop backing the jihadist, anti-Semitic, and corrupt PA and to move over to a different kind of relationship with Arabs living in Judea and Samaria, maybe even in Gaza? Can we overcome the obstacles there?
This is the main question. And I think that we see now the Jewish people today in this generation, actually in these 2 years, actually getting back to understanding that our source of faith, the source of our nationhood, is the feeling and the understanding that the land of Israel, the holy land of Israel, belongs to the holy people of Israel, and we should deserve by our behavior, by our politics, by our economy, by everything, we should deserve to own this land, and we have responsibility to this land, including everything that happens here, including the ecology, including to save the land, the geography, the ecology, and including the people who live here. Of course, those who identify or act as enemies should not be here, and they will not be here. But those who identify as allies, you know that we have to supply them, to protect them, and to enable them to live normal life. You know that the Chazal, our sages, say about Joshua bin Nun, who occupied, who conquered the land of Israel after Moses. He was the leader of the tribes of Israel, and our sages actually tell us that he wrote a letter to the people, to the Canaanites in Israel, with 3 chapters, 3 possibilities. If you want to give up to surrender, you're welcome. If you want to leave, you're welcome. If you want to fight, we shall fight you. But if you want to stay peacefully, you can do it. הרוצה להשלים, ישלים. Those who want to get along with us peacefully. And again, I say that everyone who actually adopts this possibility, it's very clear that if we put 1 like for a terrorist in Facebook, on an hour after he is not here, that must be clear. He must, if he takes this choice, it must be very clear that he lives here as a private man, a Muslim private man. He cannot vote for the Knesset. He lives here as a private Muslim man or woman, and we protect him or her, and we supply the human rights they deserve, and they are actually part of the puzzle, the big puzzle of the Israeli nationhood, but not as Jews or citizens, but residents. I would say they should deserve a green card, exactly as those people in the United States. I think there are about 20 or 30 million of green cards in America, and they live in America. They can work, and I would say more than that. If they involved in terror or in criminal action, they should not be here. That's for sure.
Just to tie up the issue of green card, the American term for a green card holder is resident alien, which is a direct translation of the Torah's term ger toshav. Ger, alien, toshav, resident. So a resident alien is a status, an important status. I would even say even more so. It's a resident alien that has acknowledgement in the state of Israel. The state of Israel is supposed to care for him, make sure that she has roads, healthcare, education, upward mobility. But at the same time, recognize that this is a Jewish state for Jewish people. The majority area of the Middle East is for the Arabs, and this tiny piece of land is a protectorate for the Jewish people. Yes, there's minorities living in it, absolutely. You can live with it as long as you love Israel, you are loyal to it, you're non-jihadist, and you're going to have rights and opportunities and also, of course, obligations. And by the way, I think residency is a non-voting status, but maybe there could be something like some small percentage of voting. This is my opinion. Let's say, for example, you'd have 3 seats in the Knesset dedicated to minorities, something like that, so they could have some representation, but certainly not to sway the character of the Jewish state. But in any case, the idea that's right now being pushed forward. By the way, you're free to disagree with me. I don't, go ahead, Noam. It's up to you. But I would say what's being talked about right now specifically is that there would be local rule, as in cultural rule. This is your area. You live here. You have your set of ways of doing things. As long as they don't come against the Jewish state, you can have your way of how you deal with justice, how you administer justice, how you understand, how to keep people in line, and what is your way of representation inside your area. It's a little bit like Chinatown. This is culturally yours. We understand that you have your own, you have your own governor. But of course, if that governor is an anti-Israel governor or mayor, like we have today in Hebron, right? Today in Hebron, we have a deeply anti-Israel, actually a murderer of Jews is the mayor of Hebron. That's unacceptable. If you can accept those rules and live by that, if you can love the state of Israel, even though you're a minority and a non-Jew, we say, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Would you agree or disagree with the things that I said?
And I want to add that in the IDF, in the Tzahal, today, there are Muslim soldiers, Muslim officers, not only Druzim, but also Muslims. Oh, you see, it's possible. And when we demand loyalty to the state of Israel, for people who want to live under the Israeli umbrella, okay, they have to deserve it. And they can do it, and they can deserve it.
Right.
And some of the Arab leaders that we know, they say to me, we want to be in the paratroopers unit and is in the IDF, and we can do it, or we can fight in any other unit for you, for the Jewish state.
That's right.
Against the terrorists.
How many times have Arabs said that to you? How many times have Arabs told me, and they talk to you much more than me, but to me, how many times have they said to me things like, just give me residency, just give me a blue identity card, like an American green card, just give me a blue identity card. And he goes to me, I remember the Arab in Hebron, he says to me, my son will be an officer in your police, protecting you. Just give me a right to work, give me decencies. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's all. That's right. By the way, in Tel Rumet, I spoke to an Arab there. He says to me, what's going to be the future? I said to him, the future is easy. This is going to be a Jewish state, and people like you are going to be able to have residency, freedom of movement, freedom to work at whatever you want, but you're going to have to abide the laws of the state of Israel, and you're going to live a decent and good life. He said to me, inshallah. That sounds amazing to me. I hear it over and over again. How many times have you heard things like this?
Well, I don't know exactly this minute. No, the public appearance of these leaders is very new. Of course, we know that Jabri, Sheikh, and some of the people in Jabri family, we know them for many years. But what today is the public appearance of the possibility of this emirate, what they call it, the Emirate of Hebron. Of course, we have to supply them the possibility to protect the people. I'm quite sure that the PA will fight against them, will try to attack them, and the Israeli forces will have to stand for them and to help them protect themselves or protect them, because many years the state of Israel, the government of Israel, had built up the Palestinian Authority and their army. It's not a police anymore, it's an army. And now it's very dangerous force here. Now the government of Israel and the Israeli forces will have to stand for our friends and not to abandon them as we did in Lebanon to the people who were fighting for us in the army of South Lebanon. We actually abandoned them. We betrayed them. It's a terrible situation. We have now to protect our allies and to let them express themselves and to rise up as the next leadership of this area.
Are you truly hopeful about that? I mean, I know that you already knew about this. You told me months ago that this is in the works. And of course, we have to give credit to one of the fathers of this vision, which is Mordechai Kedar, Dr. Kedar, who's a regular on this show as well. He's been talking about the Emirates plan for a long time, and it's coming to fruition right now. Are you actually hopeful here? Do you think that the state of Israel at this moment, because the difference between Kedar and what he said and what you said years ago and now is this is after October 7th. This is after the realization of what happens when you give land away to the PA and it becomes Hamas. We understand that Hebron is turning Hamas. So here's a moment of opportunity. Do you think that this is going to actually happen? Do you, A, trust?
I think once it appeared, it must go on. And I hope and pray and sure it will go on. It will succeed. Bezrat Hashem.
Very good. Dr. Noam Arnon, thank you so much for joining us. Last question before we let you go. Any memories from July 4th, 1976, the Entebbe rescue? Any memories from that?
July 4th?
July 4th, 1976, the day of the rescue of the hostages from Entebbe. Mata Zocher.
Wow. It was like a dream. One of the dreams that I, thank God, Baruch Hashem, I remember the 6-day war. I remember when we had Har HaBayit Biyadenu, Temple Mount is in our hands. I remember the great victory at the time, 1967. I remember...
Oh, Noam, just 1 second. Noam, you have a call coming in right now. If I can ask you to hang up on that call.
Okay.
Okay, great. Now we have you again. Go ahead.
I remember the July 4th when we actually heard and couldn't believe that our army did such a heroic and unbelievable action. Baruch Hashem. I remember many other things. The day that we actually discovered the cave of Machpelah, and other great memories from Hebron. And Bezrat Hashem, our next conversation will be about that.
Noam Arnon, thank you so much for being with us. You are the spokesman, legendary spokesman of the Jewish Community of Hebron, and also the world expert in the tomb of the patriarchs and matriarchs, the mamas and papas in Hebron. You have your doctorate in that. Thank you so much for being with us. And we wish you lots of blessings. Toda rabba. Thank you. And may we have more good news out of Hebron like we have today. All right, folks, you are listening to the Yishai Fleisher Show. We are broadcasting live from Judea today.